Yesterday has spent more than 3 decades inside one of the most profitable and controversial business sectors in the world, known simply as Big Tobacco. Andre Calantzopoulos was a highly educated, multilingual and ambitious young Greek executive when he joined Philip Morris in 1985. He never left. And 10 years ago, after the company split from its US business, he became CEO of Philip Morris International. In other words, Mr. Calantzopoulos has remained inside an industry pilloried over the last 30 years for systematically covering up the highly addictive and dangerous nature of cigarettes. Now, these days, cigarette sales are declining in much of the developed world where tough regulation and advertising bans have taken hold, but not so much in the developing world. The company is now making big efforts to claim it is moving beyond cigarettes to safer forms of tobacco and nicotine consumption. So, is Big Tobacco a shameful example of corporate greed overwhelming public good? Well, Andre Calantzopoulos joins me now here in Philip Morris's laboratories in Switzerland. Welcome to Hardtalk.
Thanks for having me.
I want to begin with a little bit of history. You have been with the Philip Morris organization for more than 30 years. You lived through that period in the late 80s, 1990s, when it became clear that Philip Morris and the other big tobacco companies had systematically lied, deceived, and manipulated the public about the nature of cigarettes, the dangers of cigarettes. You chose to stay. Why?
First of all, because I think change can come from within. The second thing is, just for clarity, Philip Morris has stated clearly since 1999 that cigarettes are addictive and cause disease and premature deaths. And then the question is what we do about this. What we developed is products that can reduce the risk. What is important to understand is, first of all, people know that cigarettes cause disease and are addictive.
Well,
what people don't know
is... Let's be very blunt. You are the boss of the biggest international cigarette manufacturer in the world. Cigarettes kill people. Cigarettes kill hundreds of thousands, millions of people.
Yes.
And you sit at the top of a company that makes and sells cigarettes.
Okay, first of all, people also buy cigarettes and somebody has to supply them. But the key question here is what do we do about reducing the harm of these products? It's important to understand that what causes the problem of cigarettes is not very well known. It's not tobacco per se. It's not nicotine, that although addictive is not direct cause of all the diseases. It's combustion, it's the fact that we burn organic matter, like tobacco, that causes the toxicants that cause the disease. So as we have now the technology over the last years, we can start developing products for the people that would not quit, that do not combust.
I understand that you want to portray Philip Morris as a company working towards a smoke-free world. I understand that's why you've frankly invited us here, because this is where you're doing the work on your smoke-free products, as you call them. But with all respect, I need to talk to you also about the core of your business. And last year, as I understand your corporate figures, you sold something like 780 billion cigarettes. You, as the CEO, have to live with the fact that that product is killing people today.
The objective of the company that I set years ago is that we replace cigarettes as soon as possible with smoke-free alternatives. And this is not portraying the company as such. It's actual facts. We have invested $6 billion in developing and commercializing these products. And if you look, if I get a couple of statistics to understand.
Statistics are important.
Fair.
Last year, as I understand it, almost 90% of your revenues came from cigarettes.
Actually a bit less, but the key thing is that 14% of our revenues came from these new products. what is more important is 92% of all our R&D expense is in these new products that are smoke-free. And even more important, 60% of any commercial activity we run worldwide, although we're in a few countries yet with the smoke-free alternatives, is on these new products. So cigarettes will be phased out over time, and we do our best to convince people to switch.
Let's look at the facts today. You are increasing sales and market share in a whole host of lower income and middle income countries. You clearly, as a corporation, have a strategy to maximize cigarette sales in these key international growth markets.
This is not correct. First of all, we've been present in these markets for very many years. This is no new market.
No, I didn't say you hadn't been present. I said that you are working very hard to maximize your sales. For example, let's take one example. In Indonesia, you've spent millions of dollars launching and promoting a new brand, Philip Morris Bold, you call it, and you clearly want that new product to take market share to get more cigarettes sold in Indonesia.
Well, first of all, this is, if I talk about the detail of Indonesia, this is not a new product. This is an existing product that was renamed just into Philip Morris because we're consolidating all the brands we have in cigarettes in order to reallocate all the resources we have into the new products. So it's not new.
You don't promote, you don't market, you don't spend on advertising unless you want results, unless you want people to be smoking your product in great numbers.
Okay, first of all, there's 1 billion people that smoke in the world today, and somebody is selling them cigarettes. The second thing is we should not be confusing, in my view, prevalence, so increasing consumption of cigarettes versus brand preference. I don't think we have to teach people what cigarettes are. They know very well what they are. So if there is any expenditure in commercial terms on cigarettes, it's to maintain our share of the market because there's no reason from a business perspective for as long as cigarettes exist and we have not phased them out, not to give market share to our competitors. And I think that's a normal thing.
Take one more example, the Philippines. There is one city in the Philippines, Balanga, which is trying to impose very strict restrictions on smoking, particularly for young people. Philip Morris International, your company, has joined forces with a couple of other big tobacco companies to fight the ordinances put in place in that Filipino city. Why have you done that?
Okay. The particular case of Philippines is that the restriction is such that essentially there is no place that you can sell any cigarettes in the city. And there is a national law about...
You want a smoke-free world, Mr. Calantzopoulos. Presumably you're in favor of that.
This is covering all tobacco products, let's be clear. And I want also to clarify, if we don't differentiate cigarettes from the rest of the smoke-free products, many of the restrictive...
We're talking about cigarettes here. In the Philippines, it is people smoking cigarettes. And you are trying to stop a Filipino city which is trying to restrict public smoking. You tell me you want a smoke-free world. These two things do not add up.
I think it's one city, very small, and we should look at the big picture of this. We have not engaged in litigation.
If I may say so, you are the CEO of the company. This is about a mindset. I began by asking you about the litigation in the United States, which followed on from your bosses at the time lying repeatedly about the dangers of cigarettes, about the fact they knew cigarettes were addictive and potentially lethal, and they covered it up. My question to you today is, have you learned nothing? Why are you still using lawyers at vast expense to try to stop controls on smoking cigarettes?
First of all, again, there is very few cases, and in this particular case, it's just the way the law is written is eliminating all possible tobacco products, future and current, from sales.
But it seems to me you're yet to address the moral issues behind the fact your company still sells upwards of 750 billion cigarettes a year. It's a question in the end of corporate morality and leadership. Let me quote to you George Butterworth, director of Cancer UK. The best way, he says, that Philip Morris could help people stop smoking is to stop making cigarettes. That's simple, isn't it?
Very, but absolutely not logical. Because if Philip Morris stops selling cigarettes tomorrow, do you think people will stop smoking, or that will help public health? Somebody else will sell the cigarette.
I think it would have a massive impact on the global debate about the future of smoking. You could tell me that other companies would fill in behind you, that they would take your business. That in the short run may be true, but imagine if you showed the leadership to say, you know what, my rhetoric about a smoke-free future isn't just words. We, tomorrow, are going to stop making cigarettes. Just imagine how powerful that would be.
Our objective is to phase out cigarettes as soon as possible. But there are people
With respect, we've already established from your work in the world, particularly the poorer countries of this world, that isn't true. You're expanding your sales and your markets.
We're not expanding our sales, I'm sorry.
In some countries you are.
We are present in these countries. There is no expansion of sales. Actually, cigarette sales are declining everywhere in the world. And we're going to accelerate this decline by selling to the people that don't quit these products. I mean, I don't think Philip Morris or any tobacco company of today has invented cigarettes and tobacco smoking. There are people who use these products, whether we exist or not, and they will continue using them. I mean, we had the same discussion on cannabis. The fact that there was no company selling cannabis, that there was no advertising, there was nothing, people still used it. So can we become real and understand that people have will and they take decisions? And our job is to convince them to kick the habit of cigarettes, and the best for them is to quit.
But we also have to,
if they don't quit, we have to give them alternatives.
As observers of your company, we too have to be real and realistic. And what we see is that almost 90% of your revenues still come from cigarettes. We see that your overall revenues are into the hundreds of billions of dollars. Your own remuneration package, correct me if I'm wrong, is around $15 or $16 million per year. You are so heavily invested in cigarettes that you cannot afford to walk away from them.
On the contrary, we are walking away from them. All I'm saying is, I don't think that if we stop selling cigarettes tomorrow, because I get this question logically sometimes, this is going to move an iota the needle on public health. On the contrary, we will have even illicit cigarettes and not an illicit industry selling them. So my objective here is to phase them out. As I said at the beginning, I'm doing everything we can as a company because we're totally focused on these products. And if governments and regulators play the game, we can get there very fast.
The World Health Organization, which you have tried to sort of work with, ironically, they want nothing to do with you. They have said the tobacco industry has a long history of systematic, aggressive, sustained, and well-resourced opposition to tobacco control measures. That continues. Their goal is to weaken tobacco controls. That's the World Health Organization.
Yes, the World Health Organization, and in particular the Framework Convention for Tobacco Control, not talk about WHO as generally. I think they are still struggling to move between ideology and the belief that only through the restrictions we are going to resolve the problem, whilst they are admitting that despite all the measures of and restrictions, in 2025 we'll still have 1 billion people, and start introducing a little bit of scientific approach into their thinking. And my view, again, is, and what I would put the company behind, is we have to continue restricting cigarettes. We need to differentiate the smoke-free products that have the potential to reduce the harm. And once we differentiate these two and we stop selling tobacco is bad no matter what and nicotine is bad, then you can have different regulatory regimes.
This lab that we're in right now, this whole building, which is devoted to finding new ways of people consuming nicotine, you call it smoke-free. You imply that, frankly, somehow it's the healthy alternative. It's not healthy at all, is it?
It's much, much healthier than smoking cigarettes.
But it's still bad, right?
We never said the risk-free products are zero risk. We have to be very clear to the people who smoke.
So why are you investing $6 billion in a product which you admit with me is still bad, highly addictive, and that you think, all things being equal, people should not use?
Cigarettes are 100% of the risk relating to using nicotine, because the delivery system, as I explained, has combustion, so we create toxicants. The best thing is for people to quit nicotine altogether, but there are 1 billion people who don't.
one of the points here is that your new product, your smoke-free tobacco, it comes in a sort of tobacco stick, a cigarette stick, which is put into an electronic machine which you inhale, but it's heated rather than burnt tobacco. Right. So all of the medical analysis shows that there are still toxins ingested into the body through that product.
Correct.
And you're telling me you've invested $6 billion in this product because it's better than cigarettes.
Because it is better than cigarettes.
But why not invest that money in programs to get people to quit tobacco, even to use nicotine patches, which do not have the toxin problem that your new product has? There are all sorts of alternatives, but you still want to make your profits from selling people nicotine, highly addictive, your words, and tobacco.
I think there is a lot of investment and a lot of bombarding almost of smokers to quit. But reality is they don't. So what we do about it, that's the question.
Sorry, when you say bombarding, you're suggesting
not
that...
Not us, but everybody else.
And you're suggesting that's a negative, are you? That
no, it's very positive. But I'm trying to say what we do, but we also have to measure outcomes. So far, we told smokers you should quit. We ran campaigns, so not only us, the entire world. We increased taxes, governments, everybody. You can't see the cigarettes anywhere. You can't have any advertising. And still people start and still people continue. So my view is we have to continue on this avenue. And if governments want to collaborate with us, I'm more than willing to invest financially, because if we do it on our own, we're accused of some subliminal way of influencing people. And we did it in the past. But on the other side, we should offer people alternatives. This is something that is accepted in any other industry. There is no zero impact product on Earth. I mean, solar panels are not zero impact on the environment. We just say they're better than burning coal. So we should help people to adopt them. We talk about electric cars. So why do we come? I understand the emotion of our industry. But why, when it comes to 1 billion people who smoke, alternatives should not exist?
Do you understand why so many people accuse you of the most grotesque corporate hypocrisy? Because at the same time as you talk about your commitment to this smoke-free product, you, and I come back to it, are selling hundreds of billions of cigarettes every single year and making vast profits, not because of your smoke-free products, but because of your cigarettes. Is that hypocrisy?
First of all, people can accuse us of anything, because accusing and criticizing, I think it's free. Doing something is important. So I think we are doing something. We're investing money in new products.
Now, the Action on Smoking and Health campaign has calculated that between 2005 and 2030, that is a 25-year span, 130 million people in the middle and lower income countries will be killed by smoking. Is that on your conscience?
First of all,
do you feel that in your own conscience?
I think what is important is to understand, first of all, these new products, we started 4 years ago. They are already 13% of our revenues, 14% last year. And we are progressing. We are almost 20% in the second quarter this year. We have already 11 million people that would continue to smoke that switch to these products. So I think that's progress. People want a cigarette. And I said that before. They will not find it. I mean, people started smoking tobacco before any industry existed. It's the same thing like saying, alcohol is due to the existing companies. Alcohol was invented by the Babylonians. There's something in people that want this kind of products. The question is how we make them less and less harmful and help people quit cigarette, because that's the 100% risk today. And I think we should not have a conversation on, can we develop a product at zero risk? Yes, ideally, I would love to have a product that replaces cigarettes with zero risk. But then it should not contain anything, including nicotine, which hot air. So nobody's going to switch to this. The thing is how you find the golden compromise that reduces the risk and the probability of disease quite substantially, and at the same time is adopted by people. It's not me and people who criticize them are going to change anything in this world. It's convincing the people who smoke to do something different.
Let us end
and I think that's where we should focus sometimes the debate and the conversation.
I understand your corporate strategy. Let us end with a simple question. When will Philip Morris International, your company, the biggest cigarette tobacco company in the world, when will your company no longer make and sell any cigarettes?
Look, in my...
When? I want a time frame.
Let me finish. As soon as possible, but I cannot do this on my own. I don't have the power to wake up in the morning and convince the 160 million people that use their cigarettes to move out of cigarettes or switch. Who am I and who is anybody that criticizes in this world to say that we can tell 1 billion people what to do and in a flip of a finger they will do it? It takes a lot of hard work.
You must, as a corporation, you must have a vision.
For ourselves.
And what is your vision? When? When will there no longer...
Nothing is changing. By 2025, we already want to have 40% of our revenues in these products. And if we get accelerated regulation, we can go much faster. So I wouldn't mind in 10 years moving out of cigarettes, in 5 years moving out of cigarettes. And the way I see it is very simple. We differentiate these products, we create a proper regulation like the US FDA has. Then we incentivize people through fiscal and other measures. And at the right moment, when we have all these new products, these cigarettes at 50-60% of the market, we can go to supply-side measures like cap and trade, nicotine reduction, like the FDA said, or elimination in the cigarettes, and then accelerate the switching without creating all the unintended consequences. For that to be achieved, you need collaboration between government, the NGOs, and Philip Morris or whomever of goodwill, and not this adversarial relationship that confuses completely the smokers and doesn't make anybody quit.
Final thought.
So that's...
You've spent 34 years in the big tobacco industry. You proud of your industry?
I think I'm proud of what we achieved as a company over time and these years because, again, our products are well known to cause disease, as I said, but there are also people who use them, okay? And somebody has to supply. Otherwise, it will be a 3/4 illegal industry like we had with marijuana, and now we're legalizing. So we have to admit sometimes that, as I said, people who smoke have free will. They don't take their decisions because somebody else tells them to do it. And we have to respect this free will when we're trying to convince them out of the cigarettes. I'm very proud that we invested a lot of money over the last few years to develop this product. And I know the bust is not, it doesn't give us, a lot of credibility at this stage. All I'm saying is we have to forget a little bit the debates between us, NGOs, sometimes WHO, and we can have this debate, but it should be focused on how we take the 1 billion smokers out of the habit of smoking and stop shooting over their heads.
We have to stop right there. But Andre Calantzopoulos, I thank you very much for being on Hardtalk.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
That was an edition of Hardtalk presented by me, Stephen Sackur. For details of our complete range